I would like to just begin by thanking the TED team and also especially Jesse, who everyone just has to love, for inviting me to come and talk to you today. I'm just very grateful for this opportunity. I just want to say I haven't spoken in public for about 10 years. I rarely go out and talk. And Jesse reminded me that I've always refused to be videoed. So something must have brought me here today, and it is because I'm so very concerned about children, and I'm concerned about the planet. So this presentation I'm going to dedicate to your children and to your grandchildren and to mine, and to Mo and Ivy, who will know who they are. And the talk started out at about 40 or 50 pages, came down to 20, it's now down to 11. I've crossed things out, but it will all be on my website. So if anyone would like to get the whole spiel, you're very welcome to go and have a look at it. We'll try and get it up as quickly as possible. So my title is What About the Kids? Tackling Climate Change for Our Children, which sounds as if it might have nothing to do with education, but in actual fact has everything to do with education. So my research is at the interface, so often the gap between the physical and social sciences, and includes the historical and present-day writings of philosophers and novelists and poets, as well as conceptual work of artists. My key message today, because I probably won't get to the end, is never doubt the power of the people to respond when they know their children are in peril. And I think our two first speakers have made that point very clear. Because of the increase in risks to human existence, there is a tremendous urgency for us to act quickly, even if governments do not, to protect our children and to make the planet and make the Earth a child-safe zone. We know our kids are in danger because there is now indisputable scientific evidence that Earth has left the remarkably stable 10,000 years of the Holocene, and the planet is now in transition to some other state. This is not breaking news, even if the mainstream media has duped the public and the real news is not reported. What is remarkable about this moment in time, that is, as Martin Rees, the renowned astrophysicist, tells us, is for the first time in 45 million years, one species, the human species, has the capacity to determine the future of the planet. Scientists are unequivocal, and here I'm quoting, Earth's system has moved well outside the range of natural variability and is currently operating in a non-analog state. The nature of changes occurring simultaneously in the Earth system, their magnitude and rates of change are unprecedented. Humanity is standing at a moment in history when great transformation is needed to respond to the immense threat to the Earth. In 2009, Johan Rockström, and this is his image up here, it's not mine, and scientists working with him identified 9 planetary boundaries essential for the safe operating space for human life on the planet, and provided scientific evidence that 4 of these planetary boundaries have been breached. Rockström states that the planetary boundaries, which are depicted in the graphic, are hardwired, non-negotiable, and vulnerable to disruptive change. Scientists are quite clear that significantly altering 2 of these planetary boundaries, climate change and biosphere integrity, both of which have been breached, will drive the Earth system into a new state. We are running blindly head-on, to quote Bertrand Russell, who was speaking of the H-bomb in 1954 as he delivered his somber message of man's peril. The question now confronting the world, Russell said, was, are human beings so destitute of wisdom, so incapable of impartial love, so blind even to the simplest dictates of self-preservation that they would carry out the extermination of all life on our planet. Einstein, who had agitated vigorously against nuclear weapons since their inception, responded that he agreed with every word of Russell's letter, and he said, "Something must be done that will make an impression on the general public as well as our political leaders." Massive shifts, both north and south, are already taking place in the long-established habitats of flora and fauna. Ecological shocks are causing great terrestrial migrations, and changes in both temperature and acidification are causing similar aquatic mass migrations. Life on the planet is on the move, but there are no safe havens for any species. And people are equally affected by this human-induced exodus from this very stable period of the Holocene into the epoch of extreme, now called the Anthropocene. Great human migrations are already taking place, with 60 million people worldwide stateless. Many are refugees fleeing persecution from countries in which there is armed conflict following years of drought and famine that can in part be attributed to climate stress and anthropogenic change. But however bad the news, there is also good news. Many scientists are optimistic that we have the scientific knowledge and capability to respond to the anthropogenic changes that are occurring. They are adamant that unless the laws of physics rule something out, we have the capacity to alter course, however difficult that may be. And so for the sake of our kids, we cannot lose hope. Despair paralyzes us, and we have to give it up. Hope is the essence of human existence, and what is inspiring about so many ordinary people, young people, old people, you, me, is that we are incredibly good at reaching beyond what we think we are capable of doing, and we become positively heroic when we are confronted by life-threatening catastrophic events. It is this inner strength, the strength that comes from emotion as well as reason, that never doubts the power of the people to respond when they know their kids are in peril, that we must dig deep and find now, however dire the situation, we can overcome it. We know what is happening to the planet, and we know what is going to happen to our kids if governments don't act and act quickly. If we are to save our kids from a bumpy ride in the 21st century, it will take every last one of us working together, sharing insights, imagining ourselves differently as we re-establish the connections not only between people and the planet, but also people and the universe. We've just got to think longer and harder, Martin Rees, the astrophysicist, says, and that's exactly what we must do. We've learned that we live in a solar system, and I'm quoting Rees, that is one planetary system among billions, in one galaxy among billions. And another thing, which I think is a really great discovery, the astrophysicist says, is that every atom in our bodies can be traced back to before the solar system was formed, and we can say that each of us has inside us atoms of hundreds of different stars which lived and died in different parts of the Milky Way galaxy more than 5 billion years ago. And so we are intimately linked to the stars, and this is a wonderful way in which we realize the unity of the cosmos. For many of us, this knowledge alone changes our conception of the relationships between people and the planet. It interrupts the clockwork of our mechanistic world and changes the way we think about the universe. Imagining ourselves as being midway between atoms and stars changes the ways in which we think about the complex relationships between humanity and nature. If we imagine ourselves as intimately connected to the dawn of time, then even a very long human life is very short indeed. If I stretch my hand back, I can imagine holding my grandmother's hand when I visited her in her 19th century cottage in a coal mining village in Wales. If I stretch my hand forward, I can hold my granddaughter's hand, who was born in the 21st century. It's a 3-century reach. In my imagination, I can span 3 centuries and hold the hands of both my grandmother and my granddaughter, and intuitively, I feel time pressing in as we experience the weight of the world upon us. So again, what can we do? We know that this century will be the defining moment for humanity. Our children and the future generations of children are in danger, and our political masters leave us without even a rudimentary attempt at governance on these great problems. So what we can do and what we must do is become first responders and act. If we shake off old habits of mind, mechanistic ranking and sorting in the ways in which we have been taught to think, and if we study the scientific evidence, we can work together to establish first response initiatives that will minimize the impact of anthropogenic change on our kids. It is up to us to make provisions to safeguard the future of our children. If we reimagine our connection with the planet and the universe, we can begin to imagine time differently, and we can become far more aware of the destruction caused in the last 200 years of human life on the planet. Civilization is in a race between education and catastrophe, H.G. Wells advised us. And so the fastest way to change the future of the planet is to change the way we educate our children. It is the quickest and most effective way we have of making Earth a child-safe zone and sustaining human life on the planet. We've got to reverse the damage caused by presidents and prime ministers, politicians and parliamentarians who have set the world's children on a collision course with anthropogenic changes to the planet by turning schools into training grounds for children to become laborers in the maladaptive, profit-driven, competitive workforce of the Anthropocene. In the US public schools and UK primary schools, children are programmed through multiple choice exercises and tests to establish linear mindset that rank orders things, and that includes people. This rank ordering of people and its form of societal control that can be characterized as the fill-in-the-bubble standardization of political thought, which frames the fill-in-the-bubble workforce of our anthropogenic world. Capitalizing on these politicians' anthropogenic acts, corporate education reformers have now monetized public education, and companies such as Pearson are reaping the benefits in revenues and profits in the US from the mandating of maladaptive Common Core and high-stakes testing. Immediate action can be taken to make schools safe places for children to be and foster resiliency before there is a catastrophe. In the aftermath of catastrophic events, schools are integral to the community's survival and recovery and must be safe places for children to foster their resiliency. High-stakes test-driven school environments are unable to provide the support that children need. There is a significant body of medical research which supports the proposition that to foster resilience in children, it is important that we do everything we can to create schools as safe, joyful, playful places before catastrophic events take place. If children are to have the maximum opportunity to become resilient and recover from potentially traumatizing experiences of anthropogenic change, every effort should be made now to establish schools as safe, joyful places for children, ensure that schools are nurturing, recognize the importance of all the languages that children speak, promote children's health and well-being, enhance academic learning, and welcome families, and encourage children and caregivers to actively participate. I'm going to run out of time. I'm going to read my last paragraph. I've junked a lot. You can see it on the website if you'd like to go and download the paper. If our children are to survive and thrive in this century, it is imperative that we prepare them for new forms of worldliness. In their backpacks and toolkits of this worldliness, what they will need is a perspective on life which values imagination, creativity, originality, and innovation. One that is deeply rooted in Earth-human history, is grounded in the present time of human dissonance and with the planet, and does not flinch from addressing human conflicts which we experience between each other. In tackling climate change for our children, it is imperative that we are vigilant and sensitive to the time that they will have to find new ways to sustain human life on the planet and to live more closely with Earth. Thank you.